Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times, welcome to my channel, welcome back to Battlefleet Gothic. So, in terms of my guide, the Orks kind of got the short end of the stick, and that's because, as I said, I think that they're by far the weakest faction at early levels. There's just too many things that can sort of take advantage of their mobility sort of weakness. But I wanted to show you guys the other side of the foot and why it's sort of worth getting to a higher level Ork fleet. So, here we can see our Death Dealer. It is basically just a gigantic slab covered in guns. It is mostly the same type of guns that we had at earlier levels, but you know what? That doesn't really matter when you have enough of them. It does have some zap cannon, and it is a really big, nasty brute in terms of dealing damage, and it has, unlike other Ork ships, a lot of long-range frontal firepower, so it is a very, very just nasty brute of a ship. But that's not that important, because that's exactly what we saw at early levels. We had our nasty brute of an early game ship that was, compared to other cruisers of its tier, bigger, nastier, more hit points, tankier. So what's different now? Well, for example, we've got ourselves the Hammer over here. It's got some decent things that are basically helping its mobility, but we've got the lots of thrusters upgrade, and this is one of the earlier things to help you. It's also got, of course, the micro warp jump combined with the stasis bomb. So this combination of extra thrusters, micro warp jump, and stasis bomb makes this a very mobile ship for an Ork ship, as well as capable of locking down or area denial of an enemy ship, which can help you catch up to them and deal that damage with your big guns here. As you can see that this is again a big gun ship on the sides there, but this one has 2 mega zap cannons on the front, allowing it to sort of poke away at an enemy at a very, very long range with decent firepower there. By contrast, the other one that I've got here, it's got one of those mega cannons at the front. It's got lots of guns, lots of heavy cannons, and then it's got the prow guns, which are a very good long-range weapon. So, yeah, we've got another case of a ship that's leaning towards that direction. I've started off with the extra shields because it doubles the shield value for Ork vessels, so it's a worthwhile investment. But that's not where that's not even where it gets really interesting, because this is still a big slab of a bruiser of a ship. So here's where it starts getting a little bit interesting. Here we can see the favors that I've started accumulating. Orks as a faction are the cheapest to get favors on, because you don't need to put your favors on your biggest, toughest capital ship. In fact, most of these support abilities work best on the smaller ships. Here we've got the Goes Fast favor, the Evil Sons clan, and you'll recall that it gives me the bigger red button. It lets me use that 25% more often, or rather, yeah, I can't actually remember, it's like 1 in 4 something. And it gives me the tractor cannon, which of course can be used for drawing people in, the extra crowd control. So this helps offset the weaknesses that that Ork ship has. This one also happens to have the lots of thrusters, letting it get into combat a little bit faster. It also has taunt, micro warp jump. So this ship, unlike before, if you were trying to run away from the ship when it was at its most basic, that would have been easy. Anyone could have been able to do that. Now, you're not going to be able to necessarily get away from it all that easily. It's covered in guns yet again. That's sort of the way of things, and it has that mega cannon at the prow, lots of heavy guns as well as lots of guns, and then the prow guns. So this ship compensates really for what Orks are bad at. And if I had gone for the Dagoth clan, and if I had gotten all sorts of like upgrades or whatever to make myself bigger and beefier in the slugfest, everyone would just kite me and there's nothing I could do to stop them. This does leave me a little bit vulnerable if I fight another Ork, of course, but that's about the only thing in the game that can outpunch me in close quarters combat. Not even the Imperials actually leave me that worried in a close range slugfest. Then we've got another one that's got a very similar loadout here, and you can see that I usually have things by tier in their role. So cruisers I like to have with this sort of chasing down mechanic, because they're just as fast as the light cruisers, and it's cheap to get them with these upgrades. So we'll eventually get this one as well with the extended punch upgrade with the whatever, but it's got the same armament. I like this armament setup for the cruiser, for the Terror. And over here in the light cruisers, again, we're getting to see some more of these really good boost mechanics here. Lots of thrusters. Our 2 carriers don't have that because I'm not as worried about them getting into the fight or chasing down the enemy. If they can keep launching fighters or bombers or whatever from the back, that's okay. But most importantly, they're all Blood Axe clan. And this gives me access to the Nova cannon on every single one of these ships. And when you've got Blood Axe clan Nova cannons on all of these ships, it makes it really hard for your opponent to run away from you and keep their distance if they're Eldar, for example, because it only takes like 1 Nova cannon shot to take out one of their escorts. So, while yes, these can explode, if you've got this many of them, you're up against that kind of thing. These ships are going to do a fantastic job of just pinning them down and nailing them so that if they keep running away, yes, eventually he'll run out of Nova cannons, but he'll run out of health, probably. So he won't be able to do those hit and run tactics if he values his life, because if he just has like a few ships left, like let's say he's lost his supporting fleet, but he's got his Void Seeker left, well, that Void Seeker can run in, but it's just going to shred the shields off of one of the ships. I'm just going to retreat it back into a gas cloud or something, and he's going to have to find an angle that'll let him attack it past all of my other ships that are still chasing his Void Seeker. So it stops being as effective. It doesn't mean it, when you've only got the one ship, yeah, the pulse cannon is still really, really deadly, but it's not going to do a whole lot if they have to rotate through the shields. Next up, we've got ourselves some upgrades that we can start putting on Savage gunships, and I can't afford another one yet, and I would absolutely love to upgrade these even more, but we've got 6,000 range Savage Ork gunships, and these things are just so deadly. They're ridiculously good, these things. I would like to outfit them with extra turrets, actually, but we'll have to wait for that a little bit later. One of the reasons is that they're quite weak to bombers and ordnance and stuff like that, so a little bit of extra turret power could go really well for them. Alternatively, of course, you could just give them something like more thrusters and cunning plans, and that makes it so that they're really good at sort of sneaking up towards the enemy as little blips that are you can't shoot at or deploy fighters at. Of course, they could just launch torpedoes at these bastards, but that aside, yeah, this is sort of when orcs become viable, I guess is what you... Well, they were viable earlier than this, but this is when they can counter things that traditionally counter them to some extent. A really, really good Eldar player will still beat me, but a really good any player will still beat me. Unfortunately, this is a data recovery, so I'm going to lose, but it'll show you a little bit about the bashing power of these orcs. It's just ridiculous how much damage these guys are capable of getting off there, so it's kind of fun to see that. Yeah, we're against Chaos. This is kind of an interesting matchup in some senses, because like I'll have this Death Dealer sitting sort of in the back there. We have our two cruisers there, and we'll go ahead and get an absolute just swarm of Savage gunships. And I'll sort of just keep pushing them away a little bit with those tractor cannons. Maybe get them to bump into each other or something like that, but ultimately we can't really protect the data that effectively. It's a not favorable scenario for orcs, just because when the enemy can zip in so easily, it's hard to stop them from just stripping your shields a little bit and then getting that data and then running away. But you know, this is the Death Dealer class of ship. It is just guns, and when you're playing at this level when you've got abilities that let you deal with your enemy shenanigans somewhat, the game is a lot more fun as orcs. Like, this makes it sort of all worth it, even if you're going to lose your data recovery missions, because you just have that ability to shred through your enemy with reckless abandon once they get in close to you, and you can force them to actually get into that state, whereas as normally it's that sort of frustrating stance of like, okay, well, I guess my opponent is just gonna not let me get in close to him. But now it's a lot harder for him to do that, and it becomes a skill matchup to a certain degree. Like, yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made that it takes less skill to play an Eldar against orcs, but it just gets so much better when you're playing as the orcs and you've got the sort of setup. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and actually no, we won't put anything on automatic there. One of the things is I'm not very good with the tractor cannon. Like, I don't fully understand how to make it work, but it is a really funny ability. It's a really good ability. Like, you can fling ships into other ships, like enemy ships, both of them together, or just throw one of them into an asteroid field. Not that asteroid fields deal that much damage, but it's still funny. Alright, we're going to have you guys set to lock on target. So our big brick of a ship here is just going to sit in the back, and it's actually got decent, it's got pretty decent long-range capability, so it's not exactly completely helpless from back here. I did actually get a recon beacon, which for them is called a grot on a rock, and that's because I have got so many long-range guns, and at this point in the game, you really do need some options to get vision on the enemy, otherwise you're just in trouble, but you know, you don't have to have grot on a rock per se on this ship. You just need it somewhere in the fleet for some situations sometimes. I just figured that I've got so many slots here that I'm not going to use otherwise that I might as well take it because, you know, I've got so many abilities on this thing. Alright, let's see if we can see what we can see. Dear Chaos, where are you? There they are. So they're hiding in a Zinch cloud. We'll pop a recon beacon on top. I think I've got another one actually in this navy. Maybe not. Yeah, no, I only have the one grot in a rock. Alright, so let's see if we can slow them down, distract them at all. I don't see any fighter contrails, so this isn't a Chaos carrier fleet. All I have to do is keep them distracted until they, until my data can get out of here. But, you know, easier said than done, really. Let's go ahead and turn this plasma bomb onto default there. What the hell? Oh, shit. I think those are escorts. Oh yeah, idolators. Alright, so we're gonna try and fire at this central idolator there. And with the lock on, you actually get increased accuracy, so you have a decent chance of actually hitting the damn things. Alright, this ship, if I recall correctly, had mostly side weapons, but... Oh no, this had a mega cannon up front. Alright, so we're just gonna park our ships over there. Oh dear. That's quite the swarm they've got there. Fortunately, they're not going for the data, really. Let's get out of there. Mega cannons are actually doing surprisingly little damage to that idolator there for some reason. I think I'm missing a lot, but I think it is harder to hit small targets like that idolator. Oh, the mega guns got it. Oh, here they come. Alright, let's go ahead and taunt on this guy. Let's go ahead and taunt on this guy. Let's use a micro warp jump over here. Try and get out of here faster. Hit reload. Alright, so we should be able to take this guy down relatively quickly since our big old battleship is going to be passing by here. But, not super important, really, at this point in time. Might be able to use our tractor cannons to deflect the ship here, but it's kind of taking some damage. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. I don't know why my opponent has the tactical cogitators just on here. I think it's because he realizes he's in trouble now. I've taken, like, no shield damage to this thing either. Oops, I'm going to turn this off. I have fire at will there. I'm going to dump it behind us, I think, somewhere. Is this ever going to come back onto full speed? Maybe not. Looks like I've lost something that's screwing with my vision radius there. I think that makes it impossible to use a micro warp jump, but there we go. Thanks, buddy, for putting it back on normal. Boom. Look at that broadside. Alright, let's see if I can tractor him away there. There we go. Alright, let's get warping out of here. I've got full shield, so this is not going to be the easiest thing for him to do. He's got insubordinate captain too. Oh, look at that heavy shot there. I'm going to win a data warp with the Orks against Chaos. That's so bad. But yeah, look at those special tricks you can do with like taunt and tractor cannon and micro warp jump and all that other stuff. It just makes it so much easier to deal with that mobility issue that the Orks have, and despite that, I was able to really slug it out with his ships, just stand there with my big brick of ships and just let them tank shots and let them fire their shots out similarly in kind. And it really just worked. It just works. It's so good. And it's so much more fun to play the Orks when you're doing this sort of stuff. It's great. Like, when I play the Eldar, it's just very professional feeling, and I just clinically take apart my enemy. But when I play the Orks, it's just so stupid, and I just have a big smile on my face. Like, it doesn't even bother me that I was supposed to warp out with the Death Dealer specifically, and, like, that way I get the data, but it's now lost in the warp with the data. Like, that just feels more appropriate with the Orks than it feels with other factions. So this is the payoff for Orks. Like, you get to this point where you've got these special abilities, these tractor cannons, and ships loaded down with abilities that make it so that they're mobile looking, even if they're, they've got that limitation still. It lets them get away with so many things that they shouldn't be able to do, but they can just get through it. And it makes it so much more fun. And this is the appeal of Orks. And I know that it's painful that they have to get up to this point, but once you get here, they're in such a good position compared to when they start off. And like, I don't 100% know why they've done it this way, but yeah, the Orks just in early tier, absolute garbage. They just have so many limitations, so many weaknesses. It's just, you play it, you just suffer through the losses. You suffer through a ton of losses until you can start getting these up. Once you start getting a few of the Blood Axe light cruisers, like, just you sort of, this is why I don't have one of the cruisers here, is because I was paying for a Blood Axe every time I had that instead of getting that, but I could actually pick up another cruiser now. But essentially, you just, every time you get an option to upgrade something, you upgrade it and you make it a little bit better. And especially upgrade your light cruisers, you upgrade your cruisers, and then eventually you upgrade your battle cruisers and your battleships. But these don't need to be upgraded because those support abilities, you just don't really need them on there. Like, I'm gonna end up getting the Bad Moon Clan on these guys, and then this guy, like, even though it's crap, I'm gonna get the Goth Clan just because the ship deserves to be the one that is just more Ork than it already is. Like, it is gonna suffer all the weaknesses that every Ork suffers from, but it's gonna be the orkiest ship that ever orked, So that's sort of the reason that you play them. And yeah, it does suck that you have to get up to here, but it doesn't take too long to get your accounts up to 8. And once you do, this is the reward for suffering through the crappy early game Orks. Anyway, I hope you found this video enjoyable, and of course, as always, I hope to see you all next time.